After the battle was over and everything calmed down, it was time to get down to business. First, I gotta call the family and let them know I'm alright. When I did, they didn't believe the changes I told them I went through until the girls insisted, and I actually sat down and showed them a video. The girls held it up, so I might have looked a little taller than I actually am, but still. From the reports coming out through the news, about 40% of the remaining unchanged personnel on this planet went through very similar changes. Men, women, children now just seem to be larger, stronger, faster, and have much higher cognitive functions than they did before. I definitely couldn't dispute that. In fact, I was a walking, talking reason why they were telling the truth, because I could now perform complex equations in my head while cooking extravagant meals and humming a different tune. It was crazy. I couldn't do this since I was a kid. When I called my boss, he insisted that I call the military and re-enlist. Reason being is that I had all this experience and the military was going to pay really well for me to return to full time. I thought about it, called them up and asked how much they were paying, and when they finally did all the calculations, I had to bust out laughing as it was 12% less than what I was already making as a civilian trainer. After the call, the thought of them trying to draft me made me a bit concerned. Then again, I thought about it. Would they really draft us? I mean, have you seen the new fleet? The size and power of these new ships was no freaking joke. The new ones have some really interesting names, well, except for the giant turd, which I'm sitting there going, really? Would you have your freaking kindergarten class name that thing? But all the rest of them, that's to be expected because, well, let's face it, strange names are common for military vehicles. It looks like we got several different classes to use as well. Not to mention the addition of our own homegrown fleet. Looking it over, I almost feel sorry for whatever in the hell comes out of the next distortion. Almost. Although now I have a bigger problem. I gotta go back to the mall. Going back, I have the magic seamstress help me out. They're not too shocked at all when they see me, as many others were making their way into the mall for the exact same reason. In fact, I wasn't even the first one there. Being too large now for the remaining fitting rooms, she actually sized me up right there. I got a lot of glances and a couple of stares as she adjusted the sizes to fit me. Eventually, she had to go get the oversized material as the shirts and pants, as she magically stretched them out, were getting too thin to wear. Seriously, I might as well just be wearing mesh for crying out loud, or nylon strips like the ladies wear on their legs. I also ripped two garments myself just by putting them on to see if they'll fit. One ripped as my bicep actually came right through the sleeve, and the other one ripped from the back the moment I twisted just slightly to one side. The seamstress was really worried that she'd have to pay for this until I told her that, don't worry, I'll pay for it. I ripped it, my fault. She wanted to say that she made it too thin, but I just told her to relax. I had to say this rather loud, actually, as a few other altered persons were having the exact same troubles. When dealing with the people staring, it did help to have a blue-skinned diva shoot them a glare that could freeze the sun. This did help the other altered folks as well, because a few of them were female, and it was clear to see that the alterations kind of accentuated certain aspects. Yes, both of them. A few in particular, two men and a woman, actually stood right next to the windows while getting fitted. Saying that they enjoyed the attention is a massive understatement. All I could think of was, dude, stop posing. Though this was not really uncomfortable, but an annoying situation, nothing actually helped break the tension faster than the High Elf manager walking in with his, I'm guessing, human wife. Seeing the three of us altered men and one boy on full display in front of him as he walked out of the back made him stop, step back, look away, saying, "Oh, sweet maker!" Getting his wits about him, he didn't want to turn and look at us, and he simply asked if there was any issues. His wife just said, "I cannot move my legs." Those of us getting close just dealt with the situation as I could feel a pair of goblins clutch onto my legs to try and keep everybody away. And I'm sure a certain French lady was wishing she had a rifle on her as more people were staring and more people got attention, because when the wife said that, everybody laughed. The men, the women, especially the teenagers. Holy shit, I thought he was going to pee himself laughing. After that, it's back to the house and back to taking care of this farm. It was much easier to take care of the work as my strength, dexterity, endurance, everything was like turned up so high I didn't understand much of it. I found myself taking care of an entire day's work before lunch, so I just started working out, reading, watching videos on how to build things, design things, create more stuff. I couldn't turn my brain off, so I might as well fill it with something besides bullshit. The ladies kept saying how they were getting tired just watching me go. That is, until they realized that I could do even more things. I started hand-to-hand combat training with Amelia. Though as fast as I am, she is still really hard to catch. Nimble little minx, isn't she? Although our sparring matches usually did end up in a draw, as nimble as she is, I wonder if she actually lets me catch her at certain points, since I always seem to end up locking her down onto the ground or the side of the barn or something in a very, shall we say, odd position? Or is precarious the right word? Or is it the girls would yell at me every time they saw it? The girls themselves actually like my power, as, for example, when we go to the lake, which they enjoy going all the time, I can get them easily 70 feet out on a throw and 80 feet up so that they can simply splash into the deepest part of the lake before swimming back in. As small as they are, I mean, basically being green homunculi, they swim very quick. Before this change, though, I might be able to get them 15 feet out, maybe 12 feet up, and that's using both arms. And that was a good day. I wanted to give them as much happiness as possible because I was no longer able to satisfy them in another way that made them happy. I had to go cold turkey in that respect because I was already pushing the physical limits with that sort of area before the distortion did this to me, and now, not going to happen. I might actually kill them. When that is the case, you had better keep yourself busy or you'll quickly find yourself so frustrated to the point of violence. Seriously, I must have worked out 4 times a day every day for at least 2 weeks at one point. When it was time for me to go out and earn some money at my job, I simply kissed all the girls goodbye and made sure they remembered to keep each other safe. My mind was thankfully put a bit of ease when I was reminded that they had plenty of friends that would visit and a very well designed and built and stocked bunker to retreat to if they had to. About halfway through the cycle I was working in, it was actually announced that full body armor would be issued to anyone changed like me with this last distortion. Of course, I immediately put my name in and requested, well, I should say more like demanded, that it be green and not blue. Over the phone, they asked me why. Why am I so adamant about it? And I responded, I belong to the past where the uniforms were green and real men wore them. They seemed to like this answer, so I scheduled my fitting for after I was done with the cycle. The fitting was surprisingly easy. A full body scan for the underlying nanosuit was needed, which was the most annoying part. The cyberjack was actually installed into my head painlessly by engineers and magical healers. They did a really good job. There's not even a scar. I checked. Then the external sections were fabricated. Once the nanosuit's on, the rest of it's put on via some strange machines. It's cool to watch on the outside, but it's creepy as hell when you're in it. You're simply pulled and twisted and turned, and things are attached to you. Suddenly there's weight where there's not supposed to be weight, and you're like, what the hell's going on? And then, of course, when the helmet goes over your head, everything turns on, and there's a strange cooling sensation. It's really, really creepy the first time. I did have to sign some paperwork starting that I will not commit any crimes with a suit, or else I will admit to, first off, never getting a suit again, and also that I will be charged with triple the crimes. And I also had to swear that I will defend the earth with it. Of course I signed. I'm not going to commit any crimes. Why the hell would I give a shit? Not to mention, I'm definitely defending Earth with this. Although, the one thing to remember is I might have signed, but I read the damn thing first. Really, really slowly. I also asked for one of those handheld shields that I seen. They said no problem. High caliber full automatic. Those were a dime a dozen. And then I asked for one of those heavy shotguns. And of course, one of those funky energy blades. They didn't have any problems with this. To my shock, they handed out everything we asked for without question, and I wondered why. Then they told me that we've been lucky so far, but we have still dropped from 8 billion to 1.4 billion since the distortion started. If we don't get proactive, there just won't be any of us left. Thinking about it, I definitely got it for sure. By the amount of numbers we were going down, we might not last more than 2 or 3 more distortions. And then what's going to happen? I thought I was done being shocked, but I wasn't. They even offered me this RV looking vehicle that was set up to equip the armor onto my body. They even showed me how it worked as I went inside. There was very little inside the vehicle as far as amenities. You know, when you see an RV, you think a stove or a bed or something. None of it was there. Since the assembly device took up almost all of it, well, let's just say that's all it was going to be there for. I was actually inside and let the machine take the armor off me, which again is freaky as hell, especially those strange rat claws that come over and grab everything. My only issue was actually getting my truck back home. I can only drive one vehicle at one time. We don't have the automation to bring everybody back, not yet. They solved that with a quick call to U-Haul. Actually, they had everything, and they could just hook up a dolly and I'm off. Driving back, I thought about how the girls might be a bit shocked at this additional equipment that we have. Although, as I was driving, I was more interested in where am I going to hide this thing? I don't want it out in the open. Thankfully, I thought about it. It's going to fit in the barn really with no issues at the dimensions it's got. Boy, that repulsor tech really helps on this. All you have to do is turn off a couple systems and you can literally go on the outside and push it into place. And then you pull a couple levers and there it's going to be, lowering itself to the ground and poof, locked in place. Before I left the base with all my new equipment, I passed by one guy who looked familiar. Couldn't place him though. I tried not to look too long, but it was driving me nuts as he passed by in that gaudy black armor he was wearing. He may be a man after my own heart with that 10-gauge shotgun on his back, but the look in his eyes, oh, that tells me he's never really seen combat. Thinking about it, maybe he's an actor or something, but I can't think of where he's from. Though all I can think of right now with the look on his face, he just looks like a rookie to me. Just like I thought, the ladies find it very cool to watch me get suited up and were more than a bit shocked at what I rolled up the driveway in. Even though I did call them and tell them I was coming in a strange piece of equipment, they were still surprised. For a good long while, we just dealt with these changes. I spent more and more time performing physical activities to try and tire myself out. It was getting more and more difficult to sleep next to the girls because they insisted on sleeping on my bed, and someone else didn't make things easy walking around in one of my old shirts or less. Seriously, could she at least button the thing up in the front? I swear, that woman just loves torturing me, especially when I'm in the jacuzzi just trying to relax after a long day, and she's sitting on the edge directly in front of me. I mean, seriously, certain things are perfect eye level. And, I can feel my resistance breaking at that point. It's a good thing I heal fast because my fingernails would start to dig into my arms or into my legs as I try to give the pain a chance to pull my brain in another direction. While I was finally asleep one night, it happened. A distortion rippled across the world, and this one was very noticeable. Jumping out of bed, I grabbed my phone, even though I basically fell over, and sent an alert, trying to make sure my eyes stayed focused. Once that was done, I turned on the computer as Amelia runs in. Normally, I'd give her shit for running into a man's room with not a stitch on, but thanks to living with her, I already knew that she slept without clothes, and currently I had other things on my mind. Just as I hit the button to turn the computer on, the phone was chiming with all sorts of notifications. Normally, this is just the check-in text, but this time, many of them had a header with our emergency phrase. We had a couple different emergency phrases, but I cringed at the sight of the phrase, "The pigs are out." This came across my phone over and over again. This phrase meant that the family is bugging out of their location and they're heading here. And it looks like all of them. What the fuck is going on? That's all I could think. The startup screen showed on the computer as both me and Amelia could hear the sound of ripping coming from the other side of the room. I suddenly realized that the girls had not got out of bed. We both turned, dreading what might be ripping apart. Shockingly, it was only my old t-shirts. The girls had begun sleeping in my old shirts that just didn't fit me anymore. I mean, what am I going to do with them? I tried to put one on and I ripped it clean in half, just putting my arms through it. Now the girls use them as like dresses or something to sleep in. At least they used to. I looked and the girls had begun to transform again, but this time they grew big, as in very large. Their skin was still green, but now they're not some sort of homunculi, no. Instead, they seemed to both be stretching about 6 feet tall as their head was pushing up against the wall and their feet were just about the very edge of the bed. I would stand them up to check, but I know what happens when the change happens, and they're going to be disoriented for at least an hour, or maybe more, depending on how much change happens. I watch as they change, the same but different. Ruby's getting much more defined muscle tone, but I wouldn't exactly say bulky. Hazel is like much taller like Ruby, but she's clearly leaner, much leaner. They both still have their pointed ears, but the ears didn't grow any larger with the rest of the body. They seemed to just kind of be the right size for the head. They both had their long hair beforehand that seems to shorten compared to these bodies. Not that it retracts, but it's just the way it looks. Oddly, neither of their hair colors changed. One was still black and the other was still blood red. The ripping we heard was actually the sound of my shirts failing to contain their new ample proportions. I would have sat there and watched the transformation longer, but I heard some French accent behind me say, "What the fuck is that?" Spinning around, I looked at the screen and I realized why everyone was running. The image from multiple screens that I had set up made my heart drop out my ass as I said, "Oh, fuck me."